JavaScript.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. And if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, do it so that you don't miss any of my videos. So without any delay, let's get started. And today we are going to do the objects second part. So today we are going to do the object second part, and we are going to complete the whole objects topic in JavaScript. Okay, so I'm very excited for this. Are you? Let's get started. Yeah, bro. So I'll go to Google Chrome. I've already opened the first chapter that we have to do. So we will do these 4 chapters: accessors, constructors, prototypes, and ECMScript 5. Okay, so now objects accessors. JavaScript accessors getters and setters. So what do you mean by accessors, getters and setters? Let's see what are getters and setters. ECMScript 5 2009 introduced getters and setters. So ECMScript 5 that was released in 2009 introduced the getters and setters. Okay, so like if you don't know much about ECMScript 5, do check out my ES5 JavaScript versions ES5 video. Okay, so that you will have a deep study on ECMScript 5 and you will enjoy it, and you will get to know about ECMScript 5, what features were introduced in ECMScript 5 and all. So do check out my ES5 video. Getters and setters allow you to define object accessors, computed properties. So getters and setters allow you to define object accessors. Okay, so these getters and setters allow you to define object accessors that are like computed properties. So getters and setters allow you to define computed properties. Okay, so let's see what exactly are getters and setters and what exactly they do. This example uses a lang property to get the value of language property. So in this, what we are doing, we are creating a lang property. So why do we use getters and setters? We use getters and setters because we can access them like normal object properties, and we can do the work like a function, but we can access them, we can call them like a normal property. Okay, so this example uses a lang property. So it is making a getter lang, and in that it is getting the value of language property. So the language property is en, and it is returning this dot language. That will, so like this method is returning en, and whenever we call the a getter like a property, it will shows the value of language, that is en. So let's try it. Okay, and it is showing us en. If we change the value of language over here, like if you do person dot language is equals to nothing. Okay, then we try it. So nothing will come because this getter is returning language, and we have changed language over here, and language's value is nothing now. So that's why person.lang, if we do person.lang, it will show nothing because the language property has nothing value. Okay, this is like exactly what is getter. Now we are on setter, the set keyword. This example uses the lang property to set the value of language property. So here in this, what we are doing, we are using the setter method to set the value of language. So here the value of language is empty. In this we are doing set lang. So the user can give a value to this lang setter, and then it whatever the value the user will give, the value of person.language will be set as that. So like if we do person.lang is equal to en, so you see we are accessing setters, getters, like normal properties, but really we are giving them a type of function definition, a method definition. Okay, so this is good about getters and setters, that we can access them like properties only. But personally, I like to use normal methods more, because like you know that you are accessing a property or a method in that. Okay, so you people have their choices, but personally I like to use the normal methods. Okay, but like you there will be some time when you are like you have to use getters and setters, that like when you do type of advanced coding, then you will experience that. Okay, so this example uses a lang property to set the value of language property. So what we are doing, we are creating a setter, and in that we are doing this dot language is equal to lang, and we are passing lang. So what we are doing, we are setting an object property using a setter. So like we are doing portion.lang is equal to en. So we are giving this value to it, and now it has set this dot language's value as like en. And if we try to access this portion dot language, the language value will not be empty string, it will be en. Okay, so like en is coming, and because like we are giving over here portion dot language, we are printing portion dot language, but en is coming. Okay, okay. So over here you must not be finding much use of getters and setters, but like these are just examples to show how getters and setters work. In real life, getters and setters are like really helpful. Okay. So JavaScript function or getter? What should we use? A function or a getter? What is the difference between these two examples? Let's see the difference. I told you one difference about like accessing a a function definition, and invoking a getter in a property definition. Okay, so like here we have first name, last name, and then we have a full name. In that we are creating a function. So you must be knowing how to create a method. If you have seen my objects part 1. Okay, so here we are creating a method in which this dot first name plus a space plus this dot last name, and its name is full name over here. So the full name is coming over here, and in we are just printing person dot full name. So like John Doe will come. Okay. Example 2 is with a getter. So in we are doing the same thing with the getter, but we are not giving brackets over here. This is the same thing, only like we are doing get full name and the same thing. Okay, so it is creating a getter, and like it is showing the same thing, but you don't need to give brackets over here. Example 1 accesses full name as a function, person dot full name. Example 2 access full name as a property, portion dot full name. The second example provides simpler syntax. So like using by using getters and setters, you will have simpler syntax. Like you can access them like properties, and it would be simple for you to code. Okay, whereas in functions it will be like a type of function definition, and it would not be so convenient. So like getters and setters are mainly made for our convenience. Second, data quality. JavaScript can secure better data quality when using getters and setters. So when you are using getters and setters, you get a better data quality. Using a lang property in this example returns the value of the language property in uppercase. So you are creating a getter, and we are returning this dot language dot to uppercase. So it is returning the language's properties value in uppercase format. And then when we are printing portion dot lang, it will show us en in capital. Okay. Using the lang property in this example stores an uppercase value in the language property. So in the language property, it is storing an uppercase value. Okay, like in this example, it is storing the uppercase value. So like in language, lang.to uppercase. So whatever we give the language over here using person.lang, whatever we give in language person.language, it will be added in uppercase format. So like over here we are giving en in small, but in person.language it is saved as like capitalized. So, and if we access person.language, we are printing person.language over here, en is coming. Okay, why using getters and setters? So why should you why shouldn't you why should you use getters and setters? Why not normal methods? It gives simpler syntax. As I told you, it gives a lot more simpler syntax. You can access getters and setters like properties, but using methods, you have to like access them like normal, like in the function definition. You have to invoke them, call them, and all that stuff. It allows equal syntax for properties and methods. As you can see, it allows equal syntax for properties and methods. Like properties, like getters and setters are basically methods, but you can access them using like properties only. Okay. It can secure better data quality. I told you that its data quality is better, and it is useful for doing things behind the scenes. So this is a new one. It is useful for doing things behind the scenes. So when you will create advanced apps, you will see that you want to do things behind the scenes. Getters and setters are the perfect things for doing things behind the scenes. Okay, so you should have the habit of using getters and setters in objects. Object.define property. The object.define property method can also be used to add getters and setters. So using object.define property, also you can add getters and setters. So like in this, what we are doing, we are creating an object, and in that we are doing counter 0. Using define property, you are defining a property reset, and in that we are doing get function this dot counter is equal to 0. So whenever we say reset, the counter's value will be 0. Then we are creating increment. So in that we are giving a getter. In that we are doing this dot counter plus plus. So whenever we say obj dot increment, it will increase the value of the counter. And now we are creating decrement. In that we are creating a getter that will decrement the value of object obj. Obj's counter property. Now we are creating a property add, and we are giving a setter over here, and in that we are doing this dot counter plus equals to value. So whatever the value the user gives, the counter's value will be that using add. It's like it will not be that, it will be added to the current counter's value. So for example, the current counter's value is 0, and you add whatever the user has given. So for example, the user has given 42. So for counter's value 0, it will do 0 plus 42, that is 42. So counter's value will be 42. Similarly, we have subtract, and in that we are setting, we have a setter, and we are doing this dot counter minus equals to value. So whatever the value the user gives, it will be subtracted from the current counter's value. Okay, so like in this, what we are doing object dot reset right now. So it will do counter's value 0. Then we are doing obj dot add 5. So 0 plus 5 is 5. So object's value is 5 now. Object's counter value is 5. Obj dot subtract is equal to 1. So it will subtract 1 from a counter. So like it would be like 4. Value is 4. Then we are doing object dot increment. So like the value will be 5. And then we are doing object dot decrement. So value will be 4. So this is playing with these are the properties, and 4 is coming. So let's recap. Object.reset, it is doing the counters value to 0. Then object.add 5, it is doing the counters value 5 because 0 plus 5 is 5. Object.subtract 1, so it is doing the counters value 4 because 5 minus 1 is 4. Then object.increment, it will do it 5 because increment adds 1 to it, so like it would be like 5 because 4 plus 1 is 5. And object.decrement, it will subtract 1 from the counters value, that and its result will be 4. So 4 is getting printed. Okay, now we are on browser support. Getters and setters are not supported in Internet Explorer 8 or earlier. So getters and setters are supported in Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, but they are not supported in Internet Explorer 8 or earlier. They are supported. Getters and setters are supported after Internet Explorer 8. Okay. Now we are on JavaScript object constructors. So I'm just having a half a minute's break. This is 1/4. So we have done 1/4 of today's video till now. We have to do 3/4 more. Okay. Just 2 seconds more. 1 and 2. Okay. JavaScript object constructors. So it is starting with an example. So if you like, you can you should always give, if you're creating a constructor method, then you should always give the first letter capital of the function, so that you recognize it like it is a like constructor. Okay, so like in that we are doing function person first last age I, and in that we are defining properties, we are initializing properties. Okay, so basically if you have done classes, you must be knowing that a constructor works like this only. Okay, so like using this constructor method, we are creating a object my father, and we are doing my father's first name will be John, second name Doe, sorry, last name Doe, age 50, and like eye color blue. And then we're doing my father is my father dot age, and 50 will get printed because like we have given the age 50 over here of my father. So it is considered good practice to name constructor functions with an uppercase first letter. Okay. Object types, blueprints, and classes. The examples from the previous chapter are limited. They only create single objects. So like in previous chapters, we are only creating single objects. Sometimes we need a blueprint for creating many objects of the same type. Sometimes you need to create many objects of the same type but with like different property values. The way to create an object type is to use an object constructor function. So to make multiple objects, you need to use an object constructor. In the example above, function person is an object constructor function. So in the example above, we created the function person as a constructor method. Objects of the same type are created by calling the constructor function with the new keyword. So object of the same type are created by calling the constructor function with the new keyword. So if you call the constructor function with the new keyword and give like all the like properties, like arguments it is asking for, you can create multiple objects using that. But the names of the variables should be different. So like here we are creating two objects from a constructor method, my father and my mother. Constructor method's name is person, and in that we are doing John Doe 50 blue, and in my mother we are doing Sally Riley 48 green. Okay, so we are trying it. So it is creating two objects, and it is showing my father is 50, my mother is 48. It is showing that because we are doing my father is plus my father dot age. My father's age we have given 50, so 50 is coming, and we are doing my mother is plus my mother dot age. My mother's age is 48, so 48 is coming. This keyword in JavaScript, the thing called this is the object that owns the code. So in JavaScript, this refers to the object that owns the code. Okay. The value of this when used in an object is the object itself. So if you are using this in an object, it will refer to that object that has made it. So in a constructor function, this does not have a value. In a constructor function, this does not have a value. Okay, it is a substitute for the new object. So it is a substitute for the new object. The value of this will become the new object when a new object is created. So value of this will be the value of this will refer to the new object when a new object will be created. Note that this is not a variable. It is a keyword. You cannot change the value of this. So that is quite obvious if you have seen my this keyword video. Okay. This keyword only suggests that it is a keyword, not a variable. Now we are on adding a property to an object. Okay. So adding a new property to an existing object is easy. You can just do my father.nationality is equal to English. Okay. And it will add a property to my father. Okay. So over here you're doing my father.nationality is equal to English. So, but it is not added for my mother. It is only for my father, not for my mother. If you try to do my mother.nationality over here, my mother.nationality over here, it will give undefined because there is nothing such as my mother.nationality. Okay. The property will be added to my father, not to my mother, not to any other person objects. Okay. So adding a method to an object. How can you add a method to an object? Adding a new method to an existing object is quite easy. You just have to do my father, the object in which you want to add the method. Okay, and then you will have to give the name of whatever you of the method. So here we want the name of the method as name, and then you will give your function and all in it, and the name method will be added to my father. The method will be added to my father, not to my mother, not to any other person object. So if you are adding for my father, then it will go for only my father, not for my mother. Okay. So my father is John Doe. If we try to do like over here, we try to do my mother. So if we try to do my mother dot name, it will give like and it is giving an error because there is nothing such as my mother dot name. Okay. Adding a property to a constructor. So like if you want that like you have a property that is common for all the objects you make from the constructor method, then how can you add a property to the constructor? You cannot add a new property to an object constructor the same way you add a new property to an existing object. So you cannot add a new property to the object constructor the same way you add it to a new object. So you can't do this, it will give an error. Oh sorry, it is giving undefined. Okay, because there is nothing my father.nationality. To add a new property to a constructor, you must add it to the constructor function. Okay, this way object properties can have default values. So like you can add, you have to add it like this over here. in the constructor function. But I'm telling you a trick how to add a property to a constructor without doing this. Shh! We will do this in the next chapter, but I'm telling you right now only. So you can do it by person dot prototype dot whatever the property name you want, like Saion is equals to Saion. Okay, and like if you try to print Saion, the properties value Saion. But if you try to print Saion like my father dot Saion, and let's see, Saion will come. So using the prototype keyword, you can add a property to the constructor method. Okay, we will learn this further in this video only, but I have told you like beforehand. Okay, adding a method to a constructor. Your constructor function can also define methods. So it can define methods like this. Okay, so if we try it, okay, this is a full name method. So in this, the full name is coming. You cannot add a new method to an object constructor the same way you add a method to an existing object. So you cannot add a new method to an object constructor like you added in a object method, like in a normal object. Okay, you can't do the same with object constructors. Adding methods to an object constructor must be done inside the constructor function. Okay, but like I told you the trick to add properties to an object constructor, the same trick you have to just use. You just have to add the prototype keyword, and an object the method would be added to the object constructor. The change name function assigns the value of name to the person's last name property. Okay, so my mother dot change name Doe, so it will now be not Sally Riley, it will be Sally Doe. My mother's last name is Doe. We are doing my mother dot last name. Okay, JavaScript knows which person you are talking about, substituting this with my mother. So JavaScript knows what this is referring to. Okay, built-in JavaScript constructors. We have seen how to make our constructors, but did you know there were built-in JavaScript constructors also? JavaScript has built-in constructors for native objects. So like the object, this is a built-in constructor, 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 and these all are built-in constructors. Okay, like these are constructors to like make objects, strings, numbers, booleans, arrays, regular expressions, functions, date. Okay, okay. The math object is not in the list. Math is a global object. The new keyword cannot be used on math. Math is a global object, and the new keyword cannot be used on math. Did you know? As you can see above, JavaScript has object versions of primitive data types, string, numbers, and booleans. So as you can see above, JavaScript has object versions of primitive data types, string, number, and boolean. Yeah, but there is no reason to create complex object. Primitive values are much faster. So like if you do new number, new string, or new boolean, it will the type of the string that you will create will be object, and it would be created as like complex object if you it will be created as a complex data type if you use new string, new number, and new boolean. You can directly like make them with quotes, or like directly add numbers, or directly boolean. You should always do direct. Also use object literals instead of new object. Yeah. You should always follow these steps. Use object literals instead of new object. Use string literals instead of new string. Use number literals instead of new number. Use boolean literals instead of new boolean. Use array literals instead of new array. Use pattern literals instead of new regular expression. And use function expressions instead of new function. So you should always follow these steps. Never use the like try to avoid using the new keyword and this new object or new string or new number or new boolean like this. Try to use the literals. Okay, it affects the type. Okay. Okay. String objects. Normally strings are created as primitives, right? Normally strings are created as primitives like this. Okay, but strings can also be created as objects using the new keyword. So you can create strings as objects using the new keyword. Okay, so like my variable first name is using new string John. Learn why strings should not be created as objects in JavaScript strings. So we will do that some other time, but right now we will focus on this. And I have told you that we don't need to make them complex data types. We are fine with primitive. It helps the execution of code faster. Similarly, with number objects, normally numbers are created as primitives, but numbers can also be created as objects using the new keyword variable x is equal to new number. Learn why numbers should not be created as objects in chapter JS numbers. So we will do JS numbers some other time. Right now, let's focus on objects. Similarly, with Boolean objects, also normally Booleans are created as primitives, but Booleans can also be created as objects using the new keyword var x is equal to new Boolean. Learn why Booleans should not be created as objects in the chapter JS Booleans. So we'll do JS Boolean some other time, but right now let's focus on objects. Okay. Okay, so we are on the next chapter. I'm just taking a like a 1 minute break. We have covered quite a lot. Okay, like I say more than half of the video is created, and now like a bit of it is left. We'll complete that fast. Okay, so let's take a break. Okay, let's take a break of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, break over, study time. Okay, JavaScript object prototypes. All objects inherit properties and methods from a prototype. So all JavaScript objects inherit properties and methods from a prototype. Okay. In the previous chapter, we learned how to use an object constructor. So in the previous chapter, we learned how to use an object constructor. So we make the constructor method, and then we make objects from that constructor method. Okay, let's try it. Okay, so we have done this example previously in that chapter. Okay, we also learned that you cannot add a new property to an existing object constructor. I told you a way how to add a new property to object constructor, but this W3 schools didn't tell you a way. So yeah, we also learned that we cannot add properties to an object constructor like we do in normal properties, like normal objects. To add a new property to a constructor, you must add it to the constructor function. So in the previous chapter, we learned that we have to add it in the constructor function, but I told you that we can use the prototype keyword to add it logically, like a normal object. So like now nationality is added. So prototype inheritance. What's prototype inheritance? All JavaScript objects inherit properties and methods from prototype. So all the JavaScript objects that are here inherit properties and methods from a prototype. Okay, so they all inherit properties and methods from a prototype. A prototype is a small model. Okay, so like all objects inherit properties and methods from a prototype. Date objects inherit from date.prototype. So there's a date.prototype that there's a date.prototype from which the date objects inherit. Sorry for that. Array objects inherit from array.prototype. So like there's an array.prototype from which array objects inherit, and person objects inherit from person.prototype. So we have a person.prototype also. Okay, that person inherits from person.prototype. So every object has a prototype. The object.prototype is on top of the prototype inheritance chain. So like it is type of a inheritance chain. Like if you have a person constructor, okay, like you have a person constructor, it inherits from person.prototype, and then person.prototype inherits from object.prototype that is on the top. Date objects, array objects, and person objects inherit from object.prototype. So person objects, date objects, array objects, all of these inherit from object.prototype also. Okay, but there's nothing above object.prototype. Above object.prototype is null. Okay, null means empty. Adding properties and methods to objects. Sometimes you want to add new properties or methods to all existing objects of a given type. Sometimes you want to add like a new properties or methods to like a constructor method. Sometimes you want to add new properties or methods to an object constructor, right? So how can you do that? Let's see. I told you, but still let's see. The JavaScript prototype property allows you to add new properties to object constructor. So like using like person.prototype.nationality, you can add a new like property to an object constructor like a normal, like you add in a normal object. Okay, the JavaScript prototype property also allows you to add new methods to object constructors. So the JavaScript prototype property also allows you to add new methods to object constructors. So like this, we have added a new property. Now we can add new method using the same definition, using the prototype keyword, and then everything is normal. Only modify your own prototypes. Never modify the prototypes of standard JavaScript objects. So do not modify the object.prototype. Always modify your own prototypes. Okay. And now we are on the final chapter of this video. So like we have done 3/4 of work, and now last. And after this chapter, we have completed the whole course of objects, and then in the next video we will start functions. In the next video, not in this. I'm also feeling a bit tired speaking. Okay, so like there's no issue in speaking, but like my throat. Oh yeah, here's water. I'll just drink some of it. Okay, this feels good. Okay, so let's complete the final chapter. JavaScript ES5 object methods. So I'm just repeating myself. If you haven't seen my ES5 video, do check it out, because you will get a lot of knowledge. You will get a lot of deep study on ES5. Okay? So do check it out. Don't miss that video at all. ECMScript 5 added a lot of new object methods to JavaScript. So ECM script 5, also known as ES5, added a lot of new object methods to JavaScript. So like object.define property was added that we used over here in the previous chapters. Of object.define properties was added. Object.getOwnProperty descriptor was added. Object.getOwnProperty names was added. Object.keys was added. Object.getPrototypeOf was added. Object.preventExtensions was added. Object.isExtensible was added. Object.seal was added. Object.isSeal was added. Object.freeze was added, and Object.isFrozen was added. So let's see what all these methods do. Adding or changing an object property. So you can add or change an object property using the define property. You can add or change many object properties using the define properties. You can access properties using getOwnProperty descriptor. You can return all properties as an array using getOwnProperty names. You can return innumerable properties as an array using object.keys. You can access the prototype using the getPrototypeOf. You can prevent adding properties to an object using preventExtensions. You can return true if properties can be added to an object. IsExtensible. So IsExtensible returns true if properties can be added to an object. So object.seal prevents changes of object properties. Okay, not values but object properties. Object.isSeal returns true if the object is sealed. Object.freeze prevents any changes to an object. And object.isFrozen returns true if object is frozen. Okay. Now we are on changing a property value. So like the syntax of it is object.define property, the object you will give, the property name you will give, and then the descriptor. This example changes a property value. So you are doing object.define property person, the object is person. Language, language is a predefined property. Not predefined, we have defined it already. So its value will be no. So we are changing its value. So its value is now no. Okay. So this is how you can change property values using the define property. Changing metadata. So how can you change metadata? ES5 allows the following property metadata to be changed. So you can change writable to true, property value can be changed. Writable true means property value can be changed. Enumerable true means property can be enumerated. Configurable true means property can be reconfigured. Okay. Writable false means property value cannot be changed. Enumerable false means property can be not enumerated. And configurable false means property can be not reconfigured. So ES5 allows getters and setters to be changed. Okay, like ES5 allows getters and setters to be changed. Like here we are defining a getter in which we are returning language, and here we are defining a setter in which we are changing the language's value. This example makes language read only. Okay, so like writable is false, we are making it read only, we are changing its metadata. This example makes language not enumerable. So we are doing enumerable false in this example. So now the language property is not enumerable also. Okay, listing all properties. This example lists all properties of an object. So this example will list all the properties in an object. So you can list all the properties of an object using the getOwnPropertyNames method. If the enumerable is false, then also all the properties will become. If enumerable true or enumerable false, all the properties will come. Okay, so all the properties have come, though language property is enumerable false. Okay, listing enumerable properties. Now how can we list only enumerable properties? This example lists only the enumerable properties of an object. Okay, so like if we are doing language enumerable false, then only like first name and last name will come. First name and last name, because these both are enumerable. Language is not enumerable using object.keys. Adding a property. This example adds a new property to an object. So how can you add a new property using the object.define property? You have to give the object, you have to give the property that you want to add, and then you have to give its descriptor. So this is how you can add a new property to an object using define property. Okay. Adding getters and setters. So using object.define property method, you can also add getters and setters. So like here you have an object, and then we are doing define property, its name, full name, and get function return this name this dot first name plus space plus this dot last name. So the full name is coming in this getter. Okay. Like if we access full name, then John Doe is coming, because first name's value is John and last name's value is Doe. A counter example. So we did this counter example before also, but let's revise. We are making an object and it has a counter that is 0. We are making a property reset, and in that whenever we access the reset property, the counter's value will be 0. Okay, whenever we access the increment, the counter will be added to 1, added by 1. Whenever we access decrement, the counter will be decremented by 1. When we do add, it is making a setter, and in that it will whatever the value we give, the counter will be added with that value. And subtract, same with subtract, whatever the value you give, the counter would be subtracted from that value. And like over here we are playing with it, like we are doing object.reset, so counter's value will be 0. Then we are doing obj.add 5, so 5 would be added to object counter, and that will like counter's value is 5 now. Now we are doing subtract 1, so counter's value is 4. We are doing increment, so counter's value is 5, and then we are doing decrement, so counter's value is 4. So the output would be 4. As I told you, it would be 4. Okay, and the chapter is done. Okay, we have done all the chapters. We have completed objects in part 2. So thank you guys. If you like the video, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, do it, and so that